Hello my friends, welcome to another video. If you've clicked on this title, you're interested in the lessons that I've learned from having locks. I'm sure that these will be helpful to someone. I was actually having a conversation with a friend about how a lot of people are getting locks these days, it seems like, but also in the same breath, a lot of people are cutting off their locks, which is interesting. I thought I would share some of the things that I've learned through my lock journey, because if you've been on this journey, if you're thinking about starting this journey, you'll quickly find out that it takes a lot of patience, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. It's not just a journey about hair. You start to learn a lot about yourself. You start to learn a lot about self-esteem because your image is changing. So that's, in some ways you feel like you're not in control of your image, but there's just a lot that's involved with the hair journey. Natural hair care has been something that is important for a lot of women with textured hair. But while we think about it as natural hair routine or natural hair care journey, it's not just about the journey itself and our hair. It's a journey of self-acceptance, of building confidence, of rediscovering who we are, and just being confident in wearing our natural hair as it is, which we should have had from the beginning. But unfortunately, the way the world is set up, there has always been an agenda to break down the Black woman. So let me dive into these lessons. If you're new here, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button for more content. Let us grow together. Let us learn together. Let us get better. You know, the other day I was thinking about the first video that I had on this channel. If you're curious, you can go back and look at it. And that video, honestly, I look back and I cringe, but the reason why I keep it up is because there's been a lot of growth. For those of you that have been rocking with me since day one, you know that even with my presentation, with the visuals, with the audio, things just keep getting better, which I'm so excited about. And I'm sure as you are on your lock journeys, things keep getting better for you, because that's the only way we can go, which is up. So let's get started. I have my notes here as usual. I'm going to share the things that I've learned throughout my 4-year this August. I should preface by saying that when I started my lock journey, I honestly did not know what to expect. There wasn't much content out there about what a lock journey looks like. I saw people retwisting their locks. I saw people talking about how they wash their hair, but nobody prepared me for the emotional aspect, the mental aspect of just having to grow locks out. And I don't know if you can really prepare anybody for that, but I think it's a good journey for us to go through because there are a lot of lessons that can be applied to other areas of our lives. So let's talk through some of the things that I learned. So the first thing that I've learned is you need to do what's best for you. Now, talking about my locks, when I started locks at that time, even though it was 4 years ago and it seemed so recent, there weren't many people who had locks around. I feel like now there's a wave of people with sister locks, micro locks. Everybody wants to lock their hair. Even when I'm walking around, I'm seeing more women and men with locks in their hair, which is so beautiful to see. But at the same time, I'm like, am I just recognizing this because I have locks now and I never really paid attention to it before? But the reason why I say you need to do what's best for you is because you're likely going to start this journey with limited knowledge. That's just an assumption that I'm making. Maybe you've done a lot of research, but if you haven't had a lock journey before, there's a lot that you find out along the way. There are a lot of questions that you get from people too as you're locking your hair. Here I am 3.5 years later after my lock journey, and people are like, oh, now it makes sense what you were doing with your hair. Because when I started my lock journey, I had twists, 2-strand twists in my hair that I just never took out. And as you know, your hair will go through the budding phase. Your hair will go through a lot of different phases. And in the process, you yourself don't even know what's going on. But I knew what I wanted in this journey. I knew that I wanted a lifestyle of freedom. I knew that I didn't want to spend an excessive amount of money on getting my hair done. I also knew that I wanted to wear my hair in a way that was natural and true to myself. That's just something that I wanted personally. So the lesson that I learned throughout this is that you really have to trust whatever journey you go on. You have to trust the process of that particular journey, and you have to be confident in what you're going to gain in the end if you're sure about what you're doing from the beginning. I want to believe that some of the people who are cutting off their locks right now, which again, everybody can do whatever they want with their hair, it's their hair, but things can get really frustrating if you're not really sure where you're headed, or if you're not doing your due diligence to get informed. And maybe some people just wanted it temporarily and are gonna try other things, but doing what's best for you. I was just talking with a friend and I said that most of us are used to living life presenting a version of ourselves that fits what people want, and a version that's safe, a version that what other people are comfortable with, rather than a version that is true to our unique selves. There's a quote I read the other day, and I think I'm gonna quote this book quite often. If you're interested in self-development, this is a really good book to read, which is 101 Essays That Changed My Mind. And I hope that I have the title right, but I'll link it below. There's a statement in this book that says, would you rather present a self that's safe to people that are around you and please whatever they want to see, whatever they want to feel, whatever they want to hear? Or would you rather live a life not knowing what it would have been like to be fully accepted by somebody who accepted your whole self, the way you came, the way you present yourself, all the quirks about you, all the great things about you? I'm gonna let that sink in for a little bit. When it comes to the hair journey, we're gonna choose whatever hairstyles we want, regardless of what social media says. I'm seeing that there are lock wars right now going on between the sister lock community, micro lock community, I don't know, traditional size and whatnot. But at the end of the day, do what works best for you. I've presented a lot of information on this channel. Sometimes people agree with what I have to say. Sometimes people don't agree with what I have to say. And what makes me feel better about the people who don't agree with what I have to say, or who might say that what I'm saying is wrong, is knowing that it's okay for them to have their personal experience. For instance, I talk a lot about using oil on my locks. I talk a lot about using a hydrating mist on my locks. Throughout my journey, I learned that I needed to use an oil to seal in moisture in my hair. Now, there are people that will tell you that they don't use oils in their hair at all. I think at one point there was a movement of no butter, no oils. Do what works best for you. Now, I'll tell you on this channel that I don't like using excessive products. I don't like doing X, Y, and Z. I don't like using edge control. If edge control works well for your hair, do it. Do what works best for you. The reasons why I do the things that I do is because I know what my hair can take and what my hair cannot take. So lesson number one is do what works for you. And I feel like once I got to the point where I'd fully accepted my locks and my hair as it was, and I was confident in my lock journey, it spread into other areas of my life where I was able to make decisions and do things that were best for me. For those that have been rocking with me since day one, you know that I launched Faida Naturals about 2 years ago, which was a big step for me because I've always been like, I'm not a business person. I'm not sure how to do the financial piece of things, but I just went ahead and did it because I knew that I had a message that I wanted to send across through the products that I was selling. And I just let go of whatever anyone might have an opinion about me. And it works for me. It's something that I wanted to do. So if you're watching this video and you're on the fence about making decisions that stand out for you, it could be even presenting yourself as your best self, or even decisions that you have cherished and held in your heart and people might downplay them, or people might feel like, you know what, or people might have all negative things to say, or maybe it's something that hasn't been done before, or it just could be a way you're choosing to live your lifestyle. Do what works best for you, because in the end, you sit with you. When all is said and done, nobody is sitting with you behind closed doors. You're gonna sit with yourself, and you wanna be as comfortable with yourself as possible during those silent and quiet moments. I say the same thing about my hair. I'll do what I want with my locks, because guess what? At the end of the day, I'm the one that has to wash my hair. I have to style my hair. I have to maintain my hair, and I'm gonna do what makes things easier for me and what makes sense for me. So the first one was do what's best for you. The second one is patience is key. It's hard to wait for something that you're not sure what the outcome is. And that's essentially what the lock journey was for me. I started with a hope and a dream, and I had to let it go. Imagine having twists in your hair that aren't even laying down. You don't even have length. My twists were facing all directions. I've talked about this quite often, and I just had to wait. And once my locks actually took form and took shape, for those of you that are on your lock journey, you might start to get more hope when you notice the budding, when you notice your hair start to do new things. It's exciting, which that actually even makes me think about that in the place of waiting, we should also celebrate the small accomplishments, or what seems small, the accomplishments that we're seeing. We shouldn't wait for the end result to be like, okay, now I'm happy. And that's something that took me a while, because I tried to do a lot of things with my locks. I tried to put them up in ponytails. I forced my hair into a ponytail, which damaged the edges in the back of my hair. I created a lot of tension problems. I was just doing things because I was impatient. And that's just simply what we do in life when we try and do things before it's time. When I got to a point where I just let my hair be, take its own course, and do what I needed to do to ensure the health of my hair, in the end, I started seeing progress. And in the end, I was able to achieve the locks that I wanted. So patience is key. And I was able to take that not just for my hair in itself, but I feel like I'm able to be more patient in other areas of my life now. Scripture tells us that let patience have its perfect work. And I say this all the time, all the time. There are things that I wanted to happen in my life years ago that are just happening right now. And it makes all the sense why it's happening right now, because I'm ready for them right now, because I'm in a place where I have more understanding and I'm able to sustain and take care of those particular things. A tip for your lock journey, if you are on a lock journey, learn how to care for your hair. Because if you neglect your hair, if you don't have those healthy hair practices, when your hair isn't locked yet, it's gonna show up with when your hair is locked. So those are the moments while we're waiting, while we're being patient, to learn how to take care of our hair so that when we do have those locks that we want, we can have healthy, thriving, and growing locks. The next lesson that I've learned is that there's nothing wrong with starting over. Now, some of us know that I have restarted these locks in the front over here. You can see there's a difference in length. Some of them are in the process of locking, and some of them have started locking already. And this is because, oh, this one right here has grown quite a bit, but you can see that right here, you're seeing budding that's happening. Now, when I put my hair all together, you can't tell a difference unless you come up close and you see that there's a difference in size. But all in all, everything works out. And I feel like this is something that I've learned, that you can always start over, you can always pivot, you can do whatever you need to do to make sure that you meet your desired goal. I think sometimes people are afraid of starting over, and I partially was when I wanted to split and restart my locks, because I'm like, all that time, but the time goes by fast when you know that you're doing things the right way, a better way, or in a way that's truer to yourself, rather than continuing on with something that you're not so pleased with. There's something about when you do something in one place, it transfers over to other places, and I think that's what my locks have been doing for me. When I restarted my locks, I was like, okay, cool, they'll just grow. And that's essentially what they're doing right now. As you can see, they're still in the process of growing, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world. There are other areas of my life where I have considered just starting things afresh and trying things a new way. So if you're on the fence about whether you should restart a journey, if you should start something a new way, this is your sign to just go ahead and do it and go on that journey and trust that particular process of things will be well. You don't have to explain yourself. When I first had my locks, I would get a lot of questions, and my work environment was not a diverse work environment. So I found myself constantly explaining things to people. Now, it's not bad to inform people, because I think that there is beauty in that. But sometimes I feel like we give explanations to justify what we're doing, maybe because we ourselves are not 100% certain with those things that we're doing or trying to do. And this happened for a little bit. I remember oftentimes be like, oh no, my hair is gonna lock. Oh no, it's gonna do this. Oh no, it's gonna do this. And really, if I'm to look back at it, I wasn't 100% sure, but I wanted somebody else to believe it before I believed it, if that makes sense. Well, going back to this particular thing, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to explain yourself in anything that you do if you don't feel the need to. Of course, there are places where it's important to explain what you're doing for the sake of transparency. But in life, if there's a statement that people always say, which is no is a full sentence. So for all my people who struggle with saying no, all my people who get commitments, you can always just give an answer. You can do something without explaining yourself. And the moment I learned not to give explanations about my hair, when people would ask questions, oh, what's going on here? What's going on there? It just came to a point where I'm like, nope, my hair is fine. It's okay. Or if I decided that I wasn't going to slick down my edges for a formal event, oh, how come you didn't do this? How come you? No, because I prefer not to. and it just stops there. And I think for so long, and my heart really goes out to our little girls with textured hair who are growing up. I mean, of course, things are different right now because things are becoming more acceptable, more diverse. But imagine a little girl on a playground and they get asked, why does your hair look like that? Or does your hair hurt? Has anyone gotten that question? Does your hair hurt? What in the world? What kind of question is that? But I think even as I watch my daughter grow up, I'm trying to teach her to accept herself however she is and not to ever feel the need to explain anything to anybody, especially when it comes to appearance. No, you should never have to explain why you are the way you are. You should never have to explain your personality. You should never have to explain your preferences. It just is what it is, and people need to respect that. So that was a whole nother side note. The next one is not to be afraid to take risks or make mistakes, to always fail forward. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about people who start their lock journeys is that they're so afraid of messing up their hair. Now, the goal is not to neglect our hair and just leave it to be, because we want healthy looking locks. We want to do our due diligence. But especially if you're self-maintaining your locks, you're gonna mess up. There are things that are gonna happen. Sometimes when people want to do like reties by themselves, or they want to do specific things by themselves, there's a fear of messing up. How I've learned to do my hair is by messing up. I've made a lot of mistakes, but you wouldn't be able to tell right now because, of course, I've learned through the mistakes. Failure should not be something that prevents us from doing particular things. This whole idea of what if I fail, but what if you don't? What if you're able to interlock your locks? What if you're able to maintain them? What if you're able to have locks and your lock journey is gonna flourish? Some people say, oh, I don't want locks because I change up my hair too much. Well, what if you don't have the desire to change up your hair so much when you get locks? I find that and that wouldn't be necessarily a failure, but if I'm going to try something and I'm not going to succeed at it, I'm going to fail forward. What does this mean? I'm going to learn what not to do next time. I started off interlocking with a 4-point rotation, and I had to switch to a 2-point rotation because a 4-point, I couldn't keep track of the last rotation I had, which was creating holes in my locks. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do a 2-point because it's easier. I learned that that was probably not a best method, so I looked for a method that worked for me. I've colored my hair multiple times. In my last video, you heard me talk about damage my hair. I tried it and I learned that I clearly don't know what I'm doing with that, so I'm just gonna stay away from the color. Whatever you do, and it may not just be hair, whatever it is, try it. And if things don't work out, learn from why things don't work out and move forward. I had a conversation with my sister the other day about an opportunity that she was presented with. And she was like, you know what? I don't necessarily feel like my personality will merge well with this particular opportunity. I've never really had an interest in this particular area. And I asked her, like, well, you won't really know unless you try. It's better to talk about something from the place of where you've tried it rather than talking about it from a place where you have no idea. And I've learned this in my own life. So those are the different lessons that I've learned from my lock journey. I'm curious, what lessons have you learned? Remember at the beginning, I talked about how this is not just a hair journey. This is a journey of self-discovery, self-confidence. We're learning more about ourselves as we go. I'm curious what lessons your lock journey has taught you. I'm also curious about what lessons you resonate with that were shared today. Otherwise, that's all I have for the video today. I will see you in the next video. Take care.